Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're watching me, Eugene, Rock the Block Live with me, Tone Vays, one of the most outspoken person on the internet, YouTube today. In fact, you can go check out his channel. He does a lot of live shows, brought on a lot of great people, and he really asks tough questions, and he gives you the kind of information that no one actually dares talk about. Like how you rain on Ethereum, for example, how you question Craig Wright in the last video. That was really interesting. He was lost for words, and you're like, no, I don't understand. Come on, keep going. So it's so nice to put you on the other side of the mic this time, where I get to ask you questions. Tone, I just watched your panel discussion, and you said ICO is dead. Number one, hands up, right? And the market is what it is today. Tell us more about what you think.
Sure. The whole concept of an ICO, it never made sense to me. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum hit all the points. So to me, Ethereum was an unlicensed, unregistered security. They came up with, what did they pre-sell? 70 million Ethereum tokens a year before the platform ever existed. So they pre-sold you a digital token that doesn't yet exist. And then a year later, they launched the Ethereum platform. There's no clients, there's no customers, there's no use case, and you can now trade this token as a security. So to me, it was always a security. So that's a problem. The other issue with the Ethereum token is economic. Like, why would I use a company that forces me to use their own money? I use Netflix. I don't remember paying for my subscription in Netflix stock. They're forcing you to use their currency that they created out of thin air for their product. That's a huge inefficiency. Technologically, they can't scale. Way too many transactions, CryptoKitties launches, and then there's this message, guys, can you please stop using Ethereum, right? It gets hacked, the DAO gets hacked, all of a sudden they reverse transactions. So it's not even immutable. Not to mention, who even needs decentralized smart contracts? Where is the censorship? Where is this, you need to process your transaction. Like, I go to a soda machine, I pay $1, I get a soda. That's a smart contract between me and the soda machine. Why does that have to be decentralized? Who is preventing me from buying soda? In fact, I hope the government starts preventing my kids from buying soda. It's terrible, right? But let's make people make their own decisions. Like, the whole concept of smart contracts need to be decentralized and stored on 100,000 computers around the world is silly. And Ethereum checked all these boxes. And they built a platform for other people to replicate Ethereum. And every other one checks at least one of the 4 boxes. Some of them check even the 4 boxes. It's like the whole concept never made sense to me. First there were utility tokens, and then there were initial coin offerings, ICOs, and now wait, ICOs, they're actually securities and we're going to get in legal trouble. Let's call them security tokens. We're going to follow the regulation on securities, on solicitation from other people's money, but now you're building it on top of an insecure technological platform, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's EOS, whether it's Cardano. I mean, these platforms, they're going to go belly up. And then what's your liability as a company owner by having your security on top of a database that isn't functioning? So you're not going to get out of your problems just by covering the legal aspect of things. You have to understand what technology you're building on. And anyone building on top of Ethereum, I believe, is just technologically incompetent.
So now what we are looking at in this industry today is people not solving the crucial terminal problem, which is like what you mentioned about decentralized smart contracts or even Ethereum on its own. Is there something that we should have done to reverse this? Because the way we are going forward with STOs is just a more regulated ICO, and it just seems that we are finding solutions for problems that we should have nipped it in the bud long ago. If you could reverse anything, what would you have done differently?
I don't know, maybe educate people a little bit better. I don't know what could be done differently. Nothing's changed for 1,000 years of our history, right? It was started out ever since the day of securities. The South Sea bubble was a security, and same thing with .coms, right? Like, how do you stop people from buying into a company because it has a fancy website? No clients, no customers, no developers. You hire some high school kid, build you a really fancy web page, you describe what your website is going to do, and all of a sudden you're on the NASDAQ trading at $100 a share. And you're convincing people that it's innovative. You're just soliciting money from people. And we have lots of regulation that prevents a stranger from soliciting money from another stranger. And that regulation has been bypassed on top of Ethereum. And people will learn the way you would never invest in a company today because their website looks cool is the way in 5 years you will never invest in a company because they have an STO. Your people are going to wise up, this current generation, and this generation started off younger, right? Like, for example, during the .com days of the late 1990s, the only people that really got scammed into buying into the hype are people that were over the age of 18 because you needed a bank account and you needed a trading account and you needed to be, use the internet. Today, people have been getting scammed as young as age 12, right? Because there is no bank, there's no barrier to entry, right? So you're scamming a younger generation, so hopefully it will be another 30 years this time instead of 20 years before, the next craze of people that think they're going to be billionaires are going to rise, and nothing has changed.
This is a mindset issue. This has been going on even before the cryptocurrency. One thing you mentioned just now, which was really, I thought was hilarious, was you would, someone would come up to you and say, give me money for my great idea, and you would say no. But yes, you would give money to a stranger across the way just because they have a fancy website. Like, could you give that the whole spiel again? Because you were ranting on stage, and I just couldn't get all the words down.
Right. It's this concept. It's like people are buying into these ICOs just because they read, they don't even read the white papers. Because every time I look at this idea, I open up the front page of their website, and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And I say something, and then everyone starts screaming at me, no, you have to go read their white paper. And in some cases I do. I open the white paper, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much worse than I thought it was. Have you actually read the white paper? And no one has. They buy these ICOs just to immediately resell them to the greater fool. And you're buying into these companies, you have no idea what to do, you have no idea who's building it. They sell you this dream on what they're gonna do. And the funny thing is, if your cousin that was a high school dropout comes to you with his great idea asking you for money, you will laugh at him and walk away from the dinner table. But yet you think that some guy that paid someone else to write some white paper describing an idea that is even worse than your cousin's, because he took the time to tell you in person, you think that's a great idea, you're going to invest money and you're going to resell it. That's pretty much what it is. Like, you're better off giving money to your family members to start their businesses than buying into these ICOs.
That's why I love you, Tone, because on your channel, you got so much of these anecdotes that it's hilarious, at the same time so easy to just understand. And I pretty much, I think that's why you're an influential force in the community. But we see the surface of Tone Vays. What's behind the scenes like? I mean, you seem like you're a guy who got your finger on everything and you know your answers.
Yeah, man.
You struggle?
I haven't been home in about 3 months. I've just been traveling from conference to conference. Like, my goal is to explain to people that Bitcoin was the revolution. Bitcoin was the innovation. Bitcoin is as different from the US dollar as it is from Ethereum, as it is from an ICO. Crypto space and Bitcoin are not the same. There is just Bitcoin. It is a way to separate government from the control of money. It is truly decentralized. It is independent. It is politically neutral. For the first time in human history, Bitcoin gave a human or any animal an ability to have something unconfiscatable. Like, again, think of an animal in the wild. Think of a dog, think of a lion. Is there anything a lion has that is unconfiscatable? And the answer is no, right? Like, a bigger lion can come and it can challenge him for the food, right? Or even if a lion like hides something, you know, we have cameras, we can go and find it, right? And the humans is the same thing. There is nothing a human has ever owned that was unconfiscatable, from a bigger human, from a human with a bigger gun, from a human with law enforcement, with guns behind them, with metal detectors. If you want to bury your gold, you know, fly a chopper with, you know, some radars, and you'll find that gold, right? You hide it in a safe, yeah, somebody can cut through that safe. But Bitcoin is the first thing that you've ever owned of value that is actually unconfiscatable. I love that word. I'm gonna add that word to the dictionary. That's why I own the .com. I own the Twitter handle. I have a conference coming up in January called Unconfiscatable, and it's this unique property to Bitcoin because of its decentralized nature, because of its proof of work, because of the mining structure, and that's what Satoshi built. That's what he innovated. And there is no physical form of Bitcoin. That's what makes it unconfiscatable. And trying to explain to people why that is, and why Bitcoin is so revolutionary, and everything else is just a way to separate people from their money. That is the innovation here. And it's whichever companies, whichever people can utilize this property of Bitcoin to their fullest advantage, it can give them competition amongst other companies in their business. And all of these competing cryptocurrencies, all of these ICOs, they're just companies. They're companies that are building on all of the inefficiencies of a blockchain, that it's a slow, terrible database. They have all of the bad things and none of the good things. Because if your project has a CEO, if it has a marketing team, if it has a management team, it's not decentralized. And the government can regulate you. You're not innovative in that space. Utilize the innovation. Come up with some actual ideas.
Now you mentioned something about Satoshi's vision and Bitcoin. So one thing that we cannot avoid this last few weeks of conversation is the Bitcoin Cash fall, right? And you were in the thick of the action, interviewing Craig Wright, and you are such an advocate for Bitcoin and the philosophy behind it. Now, tell us more of this. Like, do you think first of all, which is the real Bitcoin to you, and what are your thoughts about this fox?
Well, Satoshi made it clear what the real Bitcoin is. The real Bitcoin is the one with the most proof of work done on top of the chain. So Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Everything else are just forks and copycats of Bitcoin. Now, a small group of people did not agree with the majority on Bitcoin's technological progress, and they wanted to go backwards. They wanted to go backwards to the original white paper. They wanted to go back to the Model T. They wanted to go back to, the wheel. And Satoshi wrote a paper. We don't need smart people improving on it. We want it the way it was. And they did. And that was a small group of people, and they were united. And then they wanted to make an improvement to theirs. And they had another group of people, led by Craig Wright, saying, no, we want the original thing with absolutely no innovation. And now the first group of people that were mad at Bitcoin for innovative ended up in the hot seat of being like they were the group that wanted bigger blocks. And they ran into someone that said, why are you not making bigger blocks? Why are you doing all these technological improvements? I want bigger blocks now.
Yeah.
So it was funny. So, and it's split in two. They're still fighting. They're fighting for second place. And it's not even second place. They're fighting for such a distant second place that it's crazy. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no company. No one controls the Bitcoin brand. You know what Bitcoin is. It's the one that's worth thousands of dollars. It's not the one that's worth $30, right? You know what gold is. You know how much gold it costs, right? If someone is selling you gold at a 95% discount, you can be sure that it's not gold. So it's the same concept. I find it, I enjoyed the fight that was the clown show. And now I'm trying to ignore it once again. It's the bigger the stage you give it, the more legitimacy you give it. people will know what Bitcoin is the way they, just use their cell phones for transactions.
No, I felt that you were clearly more subdued in that conversation. It's almost like you're just giving him the ammunition.
Yeah, I wanted to let him speak. People always yell at me for interrupting my speakers because I want to ask good questions. But I wanted to show the world that, they both have a claim to the original version of Bitcoin, the first release. And they can have it. Anyone can clone the first release of Bitcoin and go with it. But I'm a believer in Adam Smith's work from Wealth of Nations, and your country, your economy is only as good as the brain power of the capacity of its people. And Bitcoin has the smartest people programming on it, and it's going to improve and it's going to get better. And this is how a country with no natural resources but smart innovators can build wonders. And that's what Bitcoin has been doing. It still has the smartest people in the world of Bitcoin and blockchain by far, and they will continue to innovate.
Tone, continue doing a good job with your content.
Thank you so much.
Cutting out more videos. Perhaps next time we could do a crossover and have a topic going on head to head.
Yeah, no, thank you. And if you guys want to listen to more of me, and there's plenty, just find me on YouTube as Tone Vays. I'm also on Twitter as Tone Vays. ToneVays.com is the website. And also check out Unconfiscatable.com, which is the conference coming up in Las Vegas, January 24th to 26th.
Oh, we should go there and cover that event.
It'll be great.
You're watching Rock the Block Live, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you guys in the next video.